So one of the most important ways in how your brand is being communicated is via the people who work in your salon, including yourself. So like how you and how your staff behave in front of clients, your customer service, the service level that you deliver as well, all that are very strong communications of your brand. Obviously, if you're a hair salon, if you're a spa, or like where the client interactions is the core component of the business that you do. So it's important that we really do not underestimate that and that we pay enough attention to it. I think it's just one of those things that, when we're in the business every day, we meet our clients every day, we meet our team every day, we can kind of forget a little bit about that. But I really just want to stress that point of how important that is. It might be obvious to you, but it's a very important component to communicate your brand. But how do you bring your brand to life via your team? So you do this by creating a culture that aligns with your brand strategy. Okay? Now, this isn't really a course on like leadership, but where, culture plays a big part, because culture is so much bigger than, branding in kind of a commercial or marketing sense. If you're able to establish a strong culture with like clear purpose and values and all that, that would help you in many ways when it comes to running your operations. It improves team morale, it improves motivation, make it easy for you to attract talent and so on if you have a culture where people actually want to work, right? So this is a bigger part than like branding in a commercial sense, and but something that is obviously something that is very important for you in your business. So in order to bring your brand strategy to life, I want to just take you through like 3 pragmatic things you can do. Again, we can talk a lot about culture. I could be talking a lot about leadership. I have a lot to say about that as well. But that is something that I will be saving for a separate course, because I think that deserves a separate course. But it's kind of inevitable to not touch on it here, right? But I want to lead you through like 3 more like pragmatic tips to really help you get going and to get your brand embraced and into your team. So the first thing I would do is to make sure to deploy your brand strategy with your team and make sure that your team is educated on your brand strategy. So if you feel you're at the point now where the brand strategy that we have created, that you're kind of happy with that, you're clear on that, what I would do is just bring your team together for a session where you're gonna share the new brand strategy for the salon. This is a very like positive event. This can be very motivational for people who work for you, to hear about the bigger purpose now that they're working for, that has been articulated, and the values and so on, and your vision, your mission, like where are we heading, what do we want to achieve here. This is a very positive thing. Your team will like this, and it will really create a lot of enthusiasm. Make something fun out of this, like not just in a coffee break, just mention this in the room, but like maybe take the people to an inspirational setting off-site, outside the salon for a change, where you actually go through this. And what I would focus on is, you can talk as much as you want about your overall brand strategy, but I think the parts that's going to influence your team the most will be the bigger why, so your purpose. So that is really something that I would share, again in an inspirational way, like this is why we're here, this is what we want to do, in a very energizing and inspirational way. The other part that's going to impact the team a lot will be the values, right? Because that is like the behavioral compass of like how when you share your purpose, the values are really like, okay, how should we act, how should we treat each other, and like, how does the values hang together with that bigger purpose. So those are really the things that I would focus on. And depending on where you are with your team, you could also bring a draft of this brand strategy, right? Maybe you're clear on what the purpose is, but you allow your team also to chip in and come with ideas when it comes to the values and the behaviors, like how we should be working with each other. Because if you also let your team in on that, you let them get involved and give their perspective on the values, what they would like to see. If you can close those together and you actually incorporate their feedback, you will get a much stronger buy-in from your team, because they feel that it's not just you standing there deploying like here's what to do, but you actually, it becomes something that you have all created together. So you will get a very strong buy-in from your team to really live with those values, because they were actually part of creating them, right? That you need to judge. Maybe you're already very clear on what the values should be and so on, and it's more of a deployment session, but I would still then spend some time on making sure they're well educated on those values and really the purpose. And again, you can talk more about the other parts of your brand strategy, but I would say those would be what I would focus on, and then allow time to just make this an inspirational and motivational setting, because I think it will have a very positive impact on your team as well when they hear it. So that would be the deployment. And then after the deployment, so point number 2 then would be really to make sure you integrate your new brand strategy in your operation. So the last thing that we want is that we do all this work, you define all these things in your brand strategy, and then this kind of just becomes like words on your website, or even worse, just living in a document, right? You really want to make sure that like the values and everything in your brand strategy becomes like part of the operations of how you're working with your team. Again, it just doesn't just become words that people don't understand, but that it becomes like practical, real things that they get to work on. So for example, define activities that would drive your purpose forward, that you want to do as a salon. I don't know if it's like part of your purpose it could be on sustainability, or it could be on many other areas, right? So like define activities that really like help move that forward. So if it would be on sustainability, that could be that you also appoint a member in your team to be responsible for a certain activity that helps drive your sustainability, and you find other activities that you can delegate on the team. So everybody really has at least some type of actually task they should be doing every month, or whatever it is, that really becomes part of driving your values forward, so that they feel that they're also contributing on those values. It's not just words and you're saying nice things, but it's actually like actionable stuff that they actually do in the business every day. This will like help make those values also and the purpose become integrated in your team, and not just words, because that's always the risk when you do this kind of exercise. Otherwise, is that it's again just becomes words, which we want to avoid. The other part I would do is to make sure that you celebrate achievements according to those values. So that's another way to integrate it into your business, is to make sure that when someone does something that is in line with the values and that you appreciate, celebrate that. And when you celebrate that, tie that back to your values, tie that back to your purpose, so that the team sees that the type of behavior around here that is being appreciated are those values and so on, that it really again becomes an integrated part in your operations. I would even take it this far that you actually move it into, so if you have like performance evaluation with your team, obviously you will talk about how they're delivering the services and kind of the expertise they have and so on, but also make like the values and how they actually behave also. Have a discussion around that in connection to your values when you discuss performance as well. So that it really becomes again integrated in your operations. Same goes for recruiting. Next time you're recruiting someone to your team, maybe you're not just asking questions about, can they do the service that you're hiring them for, but are they also acting and answering to like the values that you've set to the business, so that they really fit into the strategy that you have for your salon. So those are just some ways that you can make sure that, the purpose, your brand strategy, your values, doesn't just become nice words on a website, on a paper, but really like integrated in your business as well. And then point number 3 is for you to be a role model and a champion of your brand strategy. So obviously you cannot define a purpose, set values and all these other things, and then your team sees that you're not living yourself according to them. So obviously you need to be the best at this and really like demonstrate how you're operating, when doing things that is really in line with the purpose, with your strategy, so that they see that that's the best way for them to kind of follow you and to embrace that, when they see that you're walking the talk and it's not just, words. Those are important. Like work on your culture, do it in a way with starting with the deployment, Look at how you can really integrate this in the operations. So it's, again, not just words, but in the operations, and you role model that, you lead the way, you show how it's done as well. Then you will have the buy-in from your team, and again, this can have a very positive impact on your team. Again, beyond the communication and branding, but like motivation, your team will feel this, and they will start to see that, yes, I'm not just working for the next payslip, I'm here for a bigger reason. And that will motivate them, and that will make you also a great place to work. And even if this is the only like session now on branding that we're talking about this, obviously this is a core component when it comes to leadership and like how to like lead your team and run your business. So it starts here, and you know, that's how you bringing your brand to life with your team, which you know, comes with positive impacts both towards your clients but also on your team internally.